Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. Carl Jung wrote these words after deliberately going mad. For 4 years he spoke with invisible beings and wrote down their answers. This was a successful Swiss psychiatrist, gambling his reputation on visions that looked like psychosis. His colleagues whispered that he'd lost his mind, but Jung kept going, deeper, darker, until he returned with a map of the underworld. Before we start, a quick note. Playing ads is what lets us keep bringing you new bedtime biographies every week. But we know you're here to relax, so we've limited them to the first 20 minutes. After that, the rest of the story flows uninterrupted. And if you enjoy our work, a like and subscribe helps other restless minds find these stories. Finally, let us know in the comments which figure you'd like to hear about next. Now, that terrifying gamble with sanity, the one Carl Jung chose to take, serves as our guide into the inner worlds we are so often taught to fear. Have you ever had a recurring dream you couldn't explain, or felt drawn to people you know are wrong for you? Or perhaps you've sabotaged your own success and been left wondering why? Well, in this episode of Bedtime Biographies, we'll see how one man's journey suggests the answers lie in a place we are taught to avoid, our own darkness. Tonight, we recount Jung's life in order to understand the map he brought back for all of us. By the end, you'll understand that his voluntary descent into madness and his subsequent return carries the keys to understanding your own depths. This is the bedtime biography of Carl Jung. Chapter 1: The Swiss Soil. Carl was born in Switzerland on July 26, 1875, a country whose particular character would shape everything he became. To understand Jung, you have to understand his homeland. Switzerland was what one writer called a national park of the spirit, a place where citizens voted on major issues directly, where individual responsibility ran deeper than in most nations. This was a country rooted in peasant soil, where instinct and nature held more weight than purely urban concerns. Switzerland had turned inward for over 400 years. The nation chose internal political quarrels over external wars. This meant Jung grew up without that particular psychology of seeing evil only in neighboring countries. Instead, the Swiss looked inward for conflict. This national trait of examining one's own darkness would become the foundation of Jung's entire approach to the human psyche. He would later call this confrontation with the shadow. Jung was fiercely Swiss. He served enthusiastically in the army, which he considered an anchor to his identity during his most disorienting inner explorations. The practical, grounded nature of Swiss life kept him tethered when his mind ventured into territory that might have swept others away entirely. He was a product of this soil, practical yet profoundly inward-looking. His childhood unfolded in the quiet riverside town of Keswill, then later in Klein-Hüningen, near Basel. Roman ruins crumbled gently into the Rhine. Vineyards stretched sleepy and green under summer sun. But beneath this pastoral surface, the boy experienced inner events that would mark him forever. Between the ages of 3 and 4, Jung had a dream that would preoccupy him his entire life. He descended stone steps into the earth. There, in an underground chamber, he encountered something that terrified him. A giant flesh-colored form on a golden throne. His mother's voice called it the Man-Eater. This dream initiated him into what he would later call the secrets of the earth. It was the beginning of his intellectual life, a preview of the creative force that would drive him. By age 11, Jung felt split in two. There was personality number 1, the ordinary schoolboy who struggled with mathematics and disappointed his teachers. Then there was personality number 2, a wise, timeless presence who seemed to have lived in the 18th century. This wasn't madness. It was his first intuition of the relationship between the conscious ego and something larger, something eternal within. Around this time came another vision that would shape him. Sitting outside Basel Cathedral on a bright day, he fought against a thought trying to break through. For days he resisted. Finally, he surrendered. He saw God on his throne above the cathedral. Then God dropped an enormous turd that shattered his own church. Instead of damnation, Jung felt an unutterable bliss. He understood something crucial, that the divine refused to be bound by human tradition. God embraced both creation and destruction. These secrets made him profoundly alone. He couldn't share them with anyone, not his pastor father, who preached without conviction, not his mother, who had her own strange moments of otherworldly absence, not his schoolmates, who lived in a different universe entirely. This isolation would become both his burden and his strength. It forced him to develop an inner life of extraordinary depth. The Swiss soil had produced something unusual in Carl Jung, a boy who thought in images rather than words, who experienced the divine as something wild and contradictory, who felt himself connected to something ancient running beneath the orderly surface of Swiss life. This foundation would support everything that came after. His break with Freud, his descent into the unconscious, his discovery of the collective patterns that shape all human experience. Chapter 2. 2 Personalities and a Terrible Secret. The split in Jung's nature became more pronounced as he grew. Personality number 1 went to school, tried to fit in, failed at mathematics. This was the boy who got into fights, who disappointed his teachers, who seemed destined for an ordinary life. But personality number 2 lived in another realm entirely. This was the ancient one, the one who knew things without learning them, who felt connected to the stones and the mountains and the centuries before. School was torture, not because Jung lacked intelligence, but because he couldn't reconcile these two worlds. During a geometry lesson, his teacher accused him of cheating on a paper. Jung hadn't cheated, but he couldn't prove it. The injustice burned. More than that, it confirmed his sense that the outer world of rules and proofs had nothing to do with the real truth living inside him. At 12, something shifted. A classmate shoved him, and Jung's head struck the pavement. He lay there longer than necessary, a thought flashing through his mind. Now you won't have to go to school. For 6 months, he had fainting spells whenever school approached. His parents grew desperate. Doctors found nothing wrong. Jung over